Hi, my name is Amy Mazzi and I'm with Supreme Boats, and today I'm going to walk you through the all-new 2025 Supreme S240. This 24-foot Supreme can house as many as 16 people, and it's got as much as 4,800 pounds of ballast, and it's made to help you surf, wake, and ride Supreme. Let's check it out. So for 2025, the Supreme S240 is made to be as simple but as effective as possible for its customers. You can choose between 10 different gel coat colors in this scheme. This is the core scheme from Supreme, and it allows you to choose a beautiful colors combinations. But you've also got this sport shield, or this windshield that you see here. You'll notice it's wingless. It helps to accentuate the look of the Supreme S240, but it also has a great function. It allows you to catch yourself when you're coming into dock. It allows you to speak to your rider without having to stand up and talk over the windshield if they're falling and you're coming back around to get them. It's functional, it's beautiful, it has simplicity and elegance. It's Supreme. The Supreme S240 is available with 4,800 pounds of ballast, and it's very evenly distributed throughout the boat, which allows the boat to run level and displace the entire running surface. What does that give you? A longer wave, more water displacement, so you can get either big wakeboard wakes or that bigger surf wave that you need. So we've talked about beauty, we've talked about functionality. What about convenience? You have two fuel fills on the S240. You've got one on either side, so no matter what side your tow vehicle fuels on, you're covered. It makes it simple. This boat happens to have a 70-gallon fuel tank in it, but don't let that scare you. Because of the hull design, this is an extremely fuel-efficient boat, so that's going to last you several days and possibly even more before you have to go back and fill up again. You've also got pull-up cleats standard, 4 of them, 2 on either side on the S240. This helps you tie off to a dock easily. And you have the choice between 3 different Supreme decals. It's beautiful, shiny. It gives you that signature Supreme look on the water. The Supreme S240 offers as much as 4,800 pounds of ballast. That ballast is located in 6 different locations, evenly spread out through the boat. What that gives you is displacement of the entire running surface. We call this hull the Easy V hull. What it gives you is also balance, side to side, front to back. It's designed that way. How that benefits you is it makes more water displaced to create a wave. When you engage the available QuickSurf system, you can move that wave from side to side. It's that easy. Or if you're looking to wakeboard, just disengage the QuickSurf system and then you're back there at a longer line length, ramping off those big wakes behind the boat. It can do any of those things for you. Or if you just want to cruise, the Easy V hull has a 20 degrees dead rise, so it allows you to go through rough water with a really smooth ride. For 2025, the Supreme S240 can be optioned with the Silent Stinger wake plate. What it does is kind of obvious in its name. It's a wake plate, so it adjusts the running attitude of the boat. It can either allow the bow to come up when you're underway, or it can get the bow down further into the water, having the most aggressive part of the V cut in through the chop. But the cool thing about the Silent Stinger is it dampens the engine noise, and substantially, so that when you're in the boat, you can have normal noise level conversations. You don't get out on the lake for an entire day and end up tired of hearing your kids yell or you yelling back at them to be able to hear. It's so much nicer in the boat. And it does that in this way. So it takes water that's forced in when the boat is underway inside the plate. And there's a series of baffles built in there. It tumbles that water with the exhaust from the engine and really quiets down the engine noise. So much so that sometimes if you're sitting in the driver's seat or the observer seat, you've got the engine on, maybe you're just hanging out, a lot of times you have to walk to the back of the boat. I mean, it's 24 feet away to make sure you understand, is the engine on? Is the engine off? It's that quiet. Before we step into the S240, I want to hang out here on the swim step because this deserves to be talked about. The back of the boat here is extremely beautiful. number one. We've got the color match swim step. I've got my shark fin colored gator step here with my Supreme logo etched in it. But the swim step itself is really easily accessible. I can get up on it without much help and looking somewhat graceful. I also have access to storage back here, so I don't have to wear my shoes onto the interior of the boat. That storage area is actually a wet-dry storage area, so I could put a wet vest or wet towels in there. It's got a little drain in it. I could even throw drinks and ice in there if I want to. Really, anything you want to stow. But I also have these nice comfy seats on the back. They're big. I've got a walk over here. It allows me to not step quite as much on all of my upholstery. By the way, this upholstery is gorgeous. This is our electric blue OTB upholstery, and it's got a really nice texture to it, and it helps it dissipate heat. Even though it is a darker color, it stays cooler. This stuff is beautiful, functional, kind of like the back of the Supreme S240. As you step down in to the S240, you really start to understand how big this 24-foot boat is. It's rated for 16 people, and really it can handle 16 people's stuff. There's storage underneath every seat. But it's also beautiful. We would consider this boat kind of an entry-level Supreme, where you can get into it for a reasonable price and you've got some great features to go along with it. But it has a style to it that's really cool. In fact, the OTB vinyl scheme that you see here, which is our textured vinyl from Supreme, it's standard in this boat. And you can choose between, gosh, I think it's 12 different colors on the interior of this boat. And you could also choose just to have this textured vinyl on the accent. You can choose a base color, a main color, and an accent color. So you can customize the look of this interior. But it's also extremely resilient. This vinyl is Spradling vinyl, and we call it HLSS. And what it is a proprietary vinyl only for Centurion and Supreme, and it's extremely resilient. It has a 17 mil top coat to guard against abrasions and staining, as well as just the rigors of water life in general. And it has amazing wherewithal. The other thing that's really important about this interior is the way that these vinyl patches or patterns are stitched together. They're stitched with a Teflon thread, and this thread is also extremely strong and resilient, but beautiful as well. You'll find in this interior that we don't skip any steps. We don't cut any corners when it comes to the amount of stitching that's in here. And some of these areas of the seats are really high stress because you could be standing on them. You could have heavy items that sit on them. We want there to be a great amount of bounce back. For that, we have a triple density foam that this vinyl covers. But also the stitching itself, you'll be hard pressed to find an area of this interior where there's just a single stitch holding together two pieces of vinyl. In most cases, there's a half stitch, which is actually stitched twice, or there's a French seam, which is stitched 3 times in really high stress areas. We take a good amount of time on this interior. Whether this boat is a price point or not, we spend the time because we want your experience to truly be Supreme. When I say that there's enough room in this boat for 16 people and all of their stuff, that is exactly what I mean. All of the lounge seats are hinged, so I can easily open an area, put my stuff in, and hide it away. So it's not underfoot, I'm not tripping over things, and these are big storage areas. Even though this boat has the capacity to have 4,800 pounds of ballast in it, it is still a pretty deep boat. So the seating covers cavernous storage, which is extremely helpful, especially when you have a boatload of people that you're with. The flooring in the S240 is gator step. It's a single layer gator step, and it's available like this boat in a shark fin color with a brushed finish and some etched Supreme logos. Or you can go for the whiskey barrel, which is almost like a wood color with also the brush finish and the Supreme etches. Or you can choose the black gator step. So you've got 3 different color choices on the floor, because just like any other boat we make, It's a custom boat. We want it to be what you want it to be, color-wise and performance-wise. Again, the S240 is accommodating. No matter how many people you have, whether it's 16 or 6 or just 2 of you out for a cruise, you've got cup holders for the masses. You also have logoed emblems where you can see exactly which boat you're in and that you're proud of. You can show it off. You've also got stereo speakers. This particular boat has the Champ stereo system by Wet Sounds in it. So these are 8-inch Wet Sound speakers in the interior. So yes, it sounds amazing and it spills sound all throughout the boat. So this boat is extremely accommodating, but it's also fun. In the Supreme S series, you also have this rear seat that comes out, and you would say, what's the purpose of that? Well, if you can take the seat out, you could leave this at the dock or at home even, put a big ice chest here, have another step down, have an easily accessible drink location. It's completely up to you, but this particular boat is made to be as versatile as it is well-performing. The tower on the Supreme S240 is the F Series tower by Roswell. This tower comes in black, and it is a beautiful tower. It goes with the lines of the boat. It's also extremely strong, and it folds down. In fact, it folds down easily. It has a contraption built into each of its feet where I can fold it down by myself and put it back up without any assistance, even with all of these options on the tower. Speaking of these options, you've got the Champ stereo system, which are these 2 10-inch horns from Wet Sounds in the tower. And you've also got Bombshell 1.0 racks. These are also from Roswell. These racks are made for surfboards. So you can have as wide as a 23-inch surfboard very safely held in these racks. This is all really cushy gator step here, so there are no individual pressure points or anything that's going to hurt your board or damage something that you invested a lot of money in. It's easy to get them in. They swivel, so I don't have to, wrench my back trying to get the board back in the rack. They're really, really easy to use. The F-Series tower also has the available bimini. This bimini covers a ton of space in the lounge, so it really keeps you and all your passengers shaded. But it's also, maybe more importantly, easy to put up, easy to take down. You're not going to be struggling with it at the launch ramp, either putting it up or taking it down. It's made to be functional, and it also looks really good. So as you can see, the driver's seat of the S240 is extremely comfortable and accommodating. It also swivels, so I can utilize the observer seat as my footrest, or if there's actually someone sitting there, I can talk with them more easily this way, or I can swivel it back around. Either way, the seat is made to be extremely comfortable and functional, very supportive, and it gives me access to the entire dash here. And I've got a touch screen that controls just about every system in the S240, including Ballast and my speed control. I also have control of my Silent Stinger wake plate that we looked at earlier with this bump switch that's on my left. I can bump it up to go up, I can bump it down to go down. And that essentially either allows my nose to come up or my nose to go down in the boat. And that's really helpful sometimes when you're taking off so that you don't lose sight of the horizon and have bow rise when you first take off in the boat. And the great thing about the S240, the fact that the ballast is very evenly located in the boat and well distributed from front to back, we don't have a lot of substantial bow rise in this boat. So I don't really lose sight of the water in front of me or lose sight of the horizon. I don't have to stand up to drive even when I'm weighted to surf or wakeboard. I've also got access to my optional stereo controls over here, which have a volume knob. This is really nice because when I'm coming back around to pick up a fallen rider, I can quickly turn down my tunes, and because of my sport shield, I can talk directly to the rider. I don't have to stand up and talk over the windshield. It's very, very user-friendly. You also have the ability to get a clamping wireless cell phone charger that mounts your cell phone right here at the dash. So it's always here when I need it, and I don't have to fumble around in a storage area looking for it. The driver's area of the S240 is extremely accommodating and very comfortable. So I know I was using the observer seat as my footstool, but really someone can sit there very comfortably. It's an extremely large, accommodating seat. But you've also got major storage behind it. I mean, I can fit anything and everything in this storage area. And you might think, well, but if I shove a bunch of stuff in there, I'm not going to be able to get to my battery switch. Well, let me show you. You actually have a battery management system in the S240. This system is mounted in the glove box, so it's always easy to get to, and I can truly isolate my house battery, which controls my lighting, my stereo system, and my engine battery, which allows me to start and run my engine. So it's really easy to access in here, and if I happen to be in a cove, hanging out, swimming with friends, and I've got my stereo playing or my lights going, I can have that running off of just my house battery, and I can conserve my engine battery for when I want to go back to the dock when we're done. And it's really easy to do. Or if I want, I can tie both batteries together and they operate as one. I've got the choice, but I can truly isolate each battery in the system, and I can always get to it no matter how much gear is in the observer storage. The other cool part about this system is there's a PDM breaker panel, which allows you to troubleshoot if you happen to have an issue with your Supreme. It used to be that you'd have to dig through a bunch of different areas of the boat to isolate certain PDMs and check whether or not their breakers had tripped. Now it's all available right here in the glove box, so it's really easy to troubleshoot in case you have an issue. You also have your main stereo face mounted here in the glove box. And you've got a volume knob on this as well, and it's also a touch screen. So the observer even has access to their own stereo controls. It's all about convenience, and it's not just convenience for the driver, the passengers get the convenience as well. So we've talked about 16 different places you can sit in this Supreme S240, and they're all extremely comfortable, extremely resilient, extremely accommodating. But the one place we haven't talked about yet, the bow. And this boat is what we would call a walk-through open bow. Why do we call it that? Because you can walk right through the bow. But the distinction here is really, really important with a Supreme or a Centurion for that matter. You can walk comfortably, easily into the bow. And I'm going to demonstrate. I don't have to turn sideways and shimmy through to fit. I can walk so easily and take a seat very comfortably. I've got grab handles, cup holders, I've got sounds, tunes, I've got a lounge to sit in, I've got room for another person if I want. And the great thing about sitting in the bow, in a Supreme specifically, is it's a smooth ride. With the Easy V hull, we have 20 degrees of dead rise, we have an extreme V under the bow that cuts through chop and gives me a motionless bow ride. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the all-new 2025 Supreme S240. This boat is literally made to help you surf, wake, and ride Supreme. But don't just take my word for it. Visit your local Supreme Boats dealer and let us prove it to you on the water today.